There are over 60 maps in Bloons TD 6, and a lot of them are somewhat similar, but here are 10 maps that I've compiled together that I think really stand out and are great maps. At number 10, I have Bloons Prime. This map came out around the time that the Bloons boss event first came out, so I think it was a little overshadowed just because of the new boss event, and everyone was playing the boss event instead of checking out the new map. Now, this map actually has a pretty cool concept. As you can see, it's around 17, and that's a prime number. So on prime numbers, the left lane has a little portal, and it spawns the balloons in the right lane instead of the left lane. This is like a really cool concept that hasn't really been seen in any Bloons games. I really find this very unique and interesting. One thing I will say is this is definitely the hardest intermediate map out of all of them. This map is just kind of a pain, and to be honest, it would be much better if it was an advanced map. That's why I feel like another reason that people hate on this. And overall, this map is just very good looking. That's the number 10 spot. Let's move on to number 9. Now, number 9 is far less controversial. This is Covered Garden, a universally liked map. The concept of this map is that there's glass covering certain parts of the map, and you can only place it on the empty parts, and you can't even select towers that are covered by the glass. I really like this map because it works great with global range towers and heroes like Scythe, the Monkey Ace, Heli Pilot, and even the Mortar. This map is very unique because you have to really change up your strategy. You can't really use basic towers like dart monkeys, tack shooters, and bomb towers here. And also, farming is pretty difficult on this map, which is something I also like. And that was my 9th pick, Covered Garden. I really think this map is gorgeous, and it's also universally liked, which is always great. Now let's move on to my 8th pick. Now, the 8th map I have is Mesa. This map is very good looking. It has a sort of desert theme, and this came out the same update as Etienne. Now, this map was actually inspired by another map from the previous game, BTD 5, called Death Valley. This map in BTD 5 was absolutely great. It was one of my favorite maps. It was super challenging and difficult, and I just loved it. Now, this is actually one of the easier advanced maps, in my opinion, just because the only hard part is the really early game and maybe a little bit of the mid game, and the rest is somewhat easy. Also, a little bit of a shameless plug, I do have a guide on this map, and people in the comments were saying that they struggled on this map for a really long time, which was kind of surprising to me. Anyways, Mesa is my pick for number 8 of best maps. Now let's move on to number 7. Now, for my number 7 pick, I have a really old map, and that is #ouch. This map is so simple, and it works great. It has 4 separate entrances, and a couple of ways that the entrances intersect, and 4 different exits. This is just proof that you don't need any fancy gimmicks to make maps difficult. This is one of the hardest maps in the game, and even I struggled to beat this in chimps. Also, this map is somewhat loosely based off of another BTD 5 map, and this was actually my favorite map in the entire game. I know I said Death Valley was my favorite, but now that I think about it, this gotta be my favorite. The map is Main Street, and it has a couple of exits and entrances, and it is very good looking. I know this looks like kind of outdated, but at the time this was one of the best looking maps in my opinion in BTD 5. And I also like the removable pond in the middle. It's one of the only maps to have a feature where you can remove water, which is very interesting to me, and I do really like this map. Anyways, that was my 7th pick. Now let's move on to number 6. Number 6 is actually somewhat similar map. It is High Finance. This is an advanced map that I think came out with launch, or it came out like very early. This map has a lot of removable obstacles and a lot of buildings, and there are 2 lanes where balloons come from, leading to weird strategies working on this map. Also, a little cool Easter egg is that this map is actually shaped like a $sign to match with the High Finance theme. That's just a little cool Easter egg I thought I'd mention. Anyways, that was my 6th pick, High Finance. I didn't really have much to say about this map, but it is still very great. Let's move on to my 5th pick. My 5th pick is a very recent map, Dark Dungeons. This map is pretty unique in the way that it has 3 paths with different exits, and it has a specific path where mobs come from, and mobs will come from the main path too. The new beast handler works very well on this map, and so do like global range towers again, like Psy and the aces and the heli pilots and even mortars. Also, this map has hidden damage in that little statue up there. He can deal a lot of damage, but you have to remove him for, I think it's 50,000. Overall, this is one of my favorite expert maps. It's very challenging, but once you get the hang of it, it's very easy to understand. Just need to spam lower tier towers like tack shooters and stuff, and this map is a breeze. So that was my 5th pick, Dark Dungeons. Let's move on to my 4th pick for this list. Now, the 4th one I've chosen for this list is a little bit of an odd one. It is X Factor. X Factor is a pretty old map that is definitely the hardest advanced map in the game. This map is much harder than some of the easy experts like Dark Castle and Inferno. I really like this map and the way that the exits and entrances alternate depending on the round. There's also a barrier in the center, so you can't really use towers that can hit all 4 lanes at once other than the global range towers. One thing I will say though is that removing the center is kind of pointless. It would have been cool if they really made like a buff or something special for putting the tower in the middle, because it's hard for it to see down the tracks, and it's much better if you just put it to one of the sides. That was my 4th pick, X Factor. A pretty overhated map just because it's not in the expert and in advanced instead. I really like this map. Let's move on to number 3. 3rd place goes to Firing Range. This map has a pretty cool theme. It kind of reminds me of Area 51, but the main reason I chose this map is because of the big empty space you get at the bottom. This really allows for unique gameplay experience. You only really have space to put smaller towers at the top, and with the removable obstacle you could put like 1 or 2 big towers right where I have Dora. Like majority of this list, I kind of chose this map just because it works very well with global range military towers and also the global range druids and towers like that. A really fun strategy to try out on this map, by the way, is artillery battery. I really love using it to stall the balloons and, do damage at the same time. It's a really great underrated tower. That was my pick for the 3rd place of the best maps in BTD6. Let's move on to number 2. My number 2 pick goes to the map released on 2022 Christmas. It's called 1-2 Tree. This map is very unique in the sense that some trees, they instantly remove themselves on specific rounds, and you could place specific towers on those tiles. As you can see, a magic tree just got popped off, and it gives 1+ Pierce, I believe it is, if you place it on that tile. It buffs primary, military, support, and also magic monkeys, and each tile gives a different buff. Like one gives Pierce, one decreases the price, one gives damage, one gives attack speed, I think it is. Very unique map. It was the first of its kind. Very, very cool to see NGQE implementing these kind of buffs. That was my pick for number 2. It was 1-2 Tree, the beginner map. Now let's move on to a quick honorable mention. The quick honorable mention is Logs. This map is great for challenge editors and late game runs. My number 1 pick is somewhat obvious to anyone who's watched any of my Chimps guides. It is Dark Castle. This map has an awesome dungeon theme, 4 different entrances and 1 exit. You can basically use any strategy on this map. One tower that I've seen that works very well is spike factories, but other than that, you can really use anything for this map. I really do like basically everything about this map, and it's very fun to play on basically any game mode. I cannot tell you how happy I get when I see a collection event totem pop up on this map. Anyways, that was my pick for number 1 best map in BTD6. I just wanted to thank everyone for watching, and also thank you for 100 subscribers. I will be making a special for 100 subscribers very soon. I'm almost at 120. I've just been postponing it because I'm kind of lazy. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate that. I would appreciate it more if you liked and give me your thought in the comments. I think this is the longest video I've made that's not a Chimps guide, so I'd really appreciate it if you guys, liked. And also, leave your top 10 in the comments. I'm really curious to see what you guys have to think.